That's awesome. That is awesome. It's lovely to see all you smiling faces, some old, some new, and it's wonderful to have you on board. It is just 1 minute to the hour.
Yeah.
We'll have Dr. Lofton on, who will be bringing or presenting to you something that we all will face or have faced in our lives, the loved ones, the loss of loved ones. And very, very touchy, very painful moments. Some of us think that we can never survive, you know, when we've lost mom or dad or brother or sister. But for some reason, God gives us that strength to keep going. And we have no other choice but to do it.
That's right.
So it's lovely to see all of you come on board. I'm sure you will be joining with time. And I will probably go ahead and allow Dr. Lofton to just go ahead and begin introducing herself, sharing with you a little bit about who she is, and then she'll then dive into her actual presentation for today. Dr. Lofton, are you there?
I am here. Good evening, everyone. And
Good afternoon.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good afternoon.
Or good afternoon. Thank you, Mr. Teresa, for allowing me, giving me this opportunity to share with you. And I've been on for a few minutes. I've been listening to all the lively chatter, and I said, what a wonderful group of ladies and gentlemen I'll be sharing with this afternoon. It is an honor and a privilege. I just want you to know that. And I'm just so blessed to be able to be here with you this afternoon. And as Ms. James pointed out, our training today, our sharing, whatever you want to call it, our interaction, discussion today deals with coping with death and dying. And as she also pointed out, it is such an important topic for all of us, because at some point of our lives, we encounter this situation, whether it's with someone near and dear to us, or maybe someone we know through a friendship or anything like that. It is something we encounter. So it's not a subject that we want to avoid, because of the nature of it too, and the type of emotions it conjures up. We want to or tend to avoid it, but we should really talk about it, and it becomes much more of a managing process when it touches our lives. Yes? Are you okay? So I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself before I get into it. I am a professor of psychology, and I do consulting, and I just enjoyed the process. I enjoy what I do. I enjoy helping people and helping people sort through those emotional problems and situations in their lives. But if nothing else, I want you to understand this afternoon is that I am sharing a topic with you that has also been near and dear to me. I have experienced the loss of a loved one that's near and dear to me, or loved ones, and I'm sure many of you have. So I want you to really get into it with me, and I want you to recognize that I'm not just sharing something, a theory or textbook topic. It's something that I lived and have lived through. So when I share with you, I'm really speaking from my heart. So without further ado, let's get into our topic this afternoon. Let me pull up my, oh, go ahead,
Before
Teresa.
you go any further, Dr. Lofton, now how would you like to take your questions? During, after? What's your preference?
Right. Thank you for reminding me of that. I think the way that I structured it today is that I may have one or two moments where I reach out for a response from like 2 or 3 people, but the majority of your questions, I'd like to receive them at the end where we have a nice chat and a nice discussion. So I encourage you that while we're going through the PowerPoint, to jot down any questions that you might have. Okay, and we will bring them up at the end. And I know you will have so many, and it may not even be questions. It may be that you're sharing an experience that you've had. Okay, so it will be an exciting time. I'm really looking forward to this moment, and I know that you will be feeling a whole lot better. You'll have some questions answered. You'll know also that many share your thoughts on this subject, and you're not alone, especially if you've experienced it. All right, so let me get into the PowerPoint. I'm going to bring it up, make sure I have the right one. Not that one, this one. Let's see. Okay, not that one, not that one, not that one. Let's see. Let's see. I had a really bad thunderstorm and it kicked me out. There it is. It kicked me out. And so I had to like get everything set up again. So, all right, let's get to the beginning of our PowerPoint. All right, so at the beginning. So I do have, let's see if I can get I can see your faces.
Dr. Lofton, you may want to put it in a slide view.
Slide
not in
view,
slide
there
view.
it is. Yeah, I'm looking for
Look for
it.
view and
there it is. Ooh.
And look at the very top on your nav bar, the very top nav bar.
Right.
Go across a little further. It says slideshow.
Slideshow. I'm on there.
Okay, so go ahead and select that.
But I have. Let me see. I'm on time. Let's see. Start slideshow. Let's see. No.
You start from the beginning.
There we go. There we
go.
go. All right. So now I do have I can see your faces. So let's see. How do is there something that you can manage from your end? I can see on my screen the faces of the lovely participants in let me see something here. How do let's see, minimize them. Hi, there we go. All right. So can you see the screen, everyone? Can you see the screen?
Hello? Yes.
Okay, wonderful. So our topic today is coping with death and dying of a loved one or loved ones. So I know that a lot of these questions on here, just that you may have encountered, or especially if you've had the experience, someone may have said these things to you, or maybe you've said one or two to someone who was in the grieving process. And things like, well, it's important to be strong in the face of loss. You've probably heard someone said that, or maybe you said it to a grieving person. Or maybe time takes care of everything. You know, we've heard that. I've heard that. Or maybe, well, grief will last about 6 months to a year, and after that, you'll be fine. Or, you know, someone's putting a number to it. Or maybe they would say, the pain will go away faster if it's ignored. Or the person themselves, the person that's grieving may say that. The pain will go away faster if I just ignore it, you know, if I just ignore it. Or maybe if I don't cry, well, it means that, you know, whatever. Some people would say, well, how come you're not crying? How come you're not, you know, rolling over and bawling? How come you haven't shed a tear? that too is very judgmental. Or maybe grief always brings families together. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Or sometimes the person would say, my friends say, it's time I move on with my life. Some of those statements you've probably heard, and I said, you've probably said it to someone, you know. So, but let's get into why many of these statements and others similar are no-nos or don'ts, or as we understand the grieving process. So we know that losing someone or a loved one is the hardest part of life. And we know it will happen. And it can lead to depression and anxiety, maybe suicidal thoughts. It may even drive someone into substance abuse. And it doesn't mean it has to be always that hard stuff. It could be maybe they start drinking more, relying on alcohol more, or maybe painkillers or whatever. But we also know that seniors face death of a spouse more than any other age group, because of the fact that we're getting up in age. So learning to live without their partners might feel impossible at first, especially if they've been together for many, many, many years. We know there's so many of you out there who have been with your partners 30, 40, 50 years even. So grief can be overwhelming, even when it's not a surprise. And that means that that person's probably ill for a while, they was going through it. There's an outcome, but when it does happen, it doesn't change how you feel. So it can be very overwhelming when it's not even a surprise. And in addition to the sadness and the crying, aging adults in the midst of bereavement might, one, isolate from friends and family because they suddenly found themselves in an altered state of mind, an altered life situation, and trying to figure out what to do next, how to cope, to feel better. It's not an easy process, and so they might isolate themselves from friends and family, or they may lose sleep, thinking about the memories, focused on the memories of the person, a whole lot, and lose some sleep. They may change eating habits. Some may not eat much at all. Some may eat more than usual, what we call comfort foods, or may have trouble concentrating because you're having all of these thoughts bombarding your mind, so you're not able to focus. So these are just 4 of those things that have negative impact on the person that is going through the grieving process. But what is grief? Grief is a reaction to a loss, but it's also the name that we give to the process of coping with the loss of someone who has died. Grief is a healthy process, believe it or not, feeling comforted and coming to terms with a loss and finding ways to adapt. That's what grieving is, or grief is in a nutshell. So why is it important to learn about grief, as we will by the end of this presentation? Grief, for one, teaches us to be patient, and it teaches us that we should live every day creating memories that will comfort us after our loved ones are gone. Grief teaches us about our feelings, and it teaches us that it is necessary to grieve. So in a nutshell, that is the definition of grief, and the reasons why we should learn about the grieving process the do's, the don't, and how to navigate that process, because it touches all of our lives. As we age, death and loss become more common in our families and in social circles. I'm sure you could all pause for a moment and think about how many in your circle and your family, as you have aged, have gone on. You know, as we get older, we lose family members, we lose the people that we've grown up with or that we've been friends with for a long time. So it's painful at any age. But one thing that we need to get it right in the general sense of things is that it's often overlooked in older adults. And I'm sure you'd agree with me that many think because you're older, it is something that you're used to, and you've learned how to cope with it in a healthy way. You're okay with it. It doesn't affect you like it affects other people, and that's not necessarily true if one has not learned how to grieve properly. So we can grieve appropriately and inappropriately at any age, because dealing with loss isn't an easy subject. It's not an easy thing, but understanding the grieving process is something that's going to help us get through it. And that's what the main goal is this afternoon. And I know that we will accomplish this. All right. So when we receive the news that a loved one is dying, that can be devastating. And, you know, a loved one could be a spouse, a child, a sibling, a friend, any of those individuals. It could be more than one, too. I've known people to have lost both parents within a matter of months. Yes, losing a child, which is, you don't expect that, you know, but it happens. Losing a sibling, and losing a friend. And we'll touch on a little bit about losing the friend, because people think, well, that's a friend, that shouldn't affect you like a family member, you know. And so we'll get an opportunity, you'll get an opportunity to share, you know, how you felt when you lost a loved one, and then what are some of the things that, you know, kind of like worried you. But you know what, at this point, I'm going to share a little bit with you about my story, for example. So I lost a spouse, and I also lost two babies, two children, 3 months born, 3 months old, a boy, and I also lost a girl several years later, in utero at 20 weeks, through a miscarriage. And it's not something I did, it just kind of happened. And, you know, and the doctor said, oh, it's just an act of God, you know. Who wants to be told something like that when you're experiencing? So even professionals can say things, inappropriate things, in response to your grief and dying. So it's not necessarily because they're a doctor, they're saying the right thing, or so we have to be mindful, whoever we are, of what we say to individuals. The spouse that I lost had no children. We had no children from that marriage, but it was still a grief, inconsolable grief. And, you know, I had to learn to navigate myself through that process. And some of the things that we'll talk about today, I'll interject how I dealt with that, some of my experiences and they weren't all healthy either. How I dealt with it in the beginning, like shutting myself off and not opening the curtains for months and sleeping on that side of the bed where he slept, sleeping in his pajamas, crazy stuff. But that's my story, So, and it wasn't a long illness or anything like that. It just kind of like happened. So I will share in between this presentation how I dealt with stuff, and I know that some of you will be able to relate to that. We'll talk about how you feel and what are some of those things that we worry about. Yeah. So when we talk about mourning a loved one, everyone goes through grief and loss, but most people don't want to talk about death. We have to acknowledge death and process death, but it's a very difficult experience. It can be, but it's also important to know the right procedure, the right process. Unfortunately, the death of loved ones become more common as you and the people in your life age. So we face a loss of a spouse, a sibling, and friends in the different series of our life. Yes. So when someone close to you passes away, it's normal to experience a change in identity. So you say, what do you mean, Dr. Lofton? For example, if your spouse passes away, your identity as a wife or a husband changes. And what I mean by that, suddenly, you got to get used to the term widow or widower. Like, oh, well, I remember how I felt. I was filling a form or something, and I had to write that on a form, and it was eye-opening for me. It was very emotional because now I have to say, I'm a widow, or note that my husband was deceased, and your identity changes too in the social circle. Let's say your husband had friends or your wife had friends, and they would visit or call the home, and sometimes suddenly that stops because that person that they were attached to, well, they're no longer there, and that changes you. But and so those are just some examples how your identity changes. But what's important is that you don't forget the importance of the relationship, and you don't have to stop identifying with the relationship. You don't have to stop saying, well, I'm the wife or I'm the husband of so and so, because they're no longer there. You don't have to say I'm the widow or the widower. The death of a loved one can change your current role in your family structure or circle of friends, because one of those pillars of the family has gone on, and people may see you differently. And the structure, or you may have to take on all of the responsibilities the loved one had. You have to take that on. And sometimes we find that many are not prepared, especially spouses who are wives, for example, when they relinquished a lot of responsibilities, tasks, and like in any household, the husband does certain things, the wife does certain things, and it gets done. But then all of a sudden, you're having to learn how to do that, take on that responsibility, or your children are reaching more to you when they used to reach out to papa or mama. Now they're reaching out to you, and it can be overwhelming, and the same, with the circle of friends. And this is a time where you get to know who is the true friend or not, So when we talk about the loss of a friend, for example, the loss of a friend that you've chosen to keep in your life for a long time, that too can be heartbreaking. Just like we say our pets, they are part of our family, and I'm not minimizing a friend to a pet. The relationship that you built up with that pet, that animal, you see them as part of a family. Losing a friend is like losing part of a family, but others may not recognize the death as important because they're just seeing that person as an extension to the family, while you may see that person as a family member, or pretty close, could be closer than a brother or a sister or family member. And so they might minimize the grief, your grief, or expect you to recover quickly. And this could be very isolating, and it can make you want to not talk about it or share about it because you don't want to be judged. And so you tend to internalize that grief. And that is so unhealthy, because then we know it can affect your health, your overall health, your emotional health, your physical health, your mental health, all of those things it can affect. So we don't want to internalize the grief. So we know these can make things more difficult for you. And unfortunately, society does expect us to get used to grief as we age and lose more of our loved ones. But we know that no matter how many times we experience loss, it never really gets easier. I remember my grandmother used to say, death happens all around us every day, but we never get used to it. And as I got older, I realized, what that meant. And there's also the misconception about losing a friend. And as I said, the friend could be as, a family member. So we want to make sure that, let's see what's happening here. We want to make sure that we don't impose our belief on people who are grieving about how they should grieve. Okay, so let's see something. My screen is stuck here. Let's see. Bear with me for a minute. Let's see. Let's do this. I may have to go out and come in again. Okay. So Miss Teresa, is there any, let's see here.
What do you need?
My screen is, I may need to go out and come in again, because I know we have lots of thunder and lighting and things are happening with my computer that don't normally.
So why don't you, so you're saying it's the Zoom, or it's your, what is your?
Yeah, the screen is frozen, and it's frozen on my screen. So
It's frozen
on my screen. Yeah, let me
So why don't you,
see.
well, first stop sharing. I would suggest you stop sharing. Then refresh your browser.
And
refresh your browser
and then
and try to get back to your slides, and then you should be out of that frozen stage.
Right.
There
Oh,
you-
well, all right, this will work. All right, wonderful, thank you. So why are we?
You're
So,
still not sharing. You need to be
oh,
sharing.
I need to be shared. Let's see. Oh, exit. PowerPoint. Yeah, Zoom. Sharing. Get back over here. I think in here. Sharing. All right. And I do want to do the,
Slide. Yep. From the
yeah. So let's get back. Okay, right. Right. Here we go. Okay, so we are hardwired for connection. And what I mean by that is that we're social beings. We don't live on an island by ourselves. We are social beings. We have this natural tendency to want to communicate with each other. We have this natural tendency to care about others, interact with others. So when a connection is broken that we've had, it really does affect us. So you can say that we are hardwired for connection. So when we lose our attachment to someone, we can feel disoriented, we can feel distraught, we can feel, confused, and those things. So, and many of you have probably been married for 30, 40, 50 years or whatever the number, and it doesn't, and let me stress this, it doesn't mean that the longer you've been married, the more of an impact compared to maybe the shorter time. It can have an equal impact based on the substance of your relationship, the closeness, the bond that you had, that you shared. Okay, so death of a spouse is often referred to a person losing a spouse as, it's like, I've lost a part of me, I've lost an appendage, it's like, I lost part of my body. A person that's been married, been with a person for a long time. So talking about that bond can help you realize that you don't have to wipe that connection out of your mind. You don't have to, even if you've remarried, and if you're blessed with a spouse that understands that, it is such a blessing. And I gotta say that I've been blessed with that. I've been blessed with a spouse who've lost a spouse. I lost my spouse before that, and then then the person that I met had lost their spouse, but not as long as I had before we connected. And well, that memory doesn't go away. There are things that conjures up those memories. There's things in your home, there's letters, there's pictures, there's the children, there's everything that's related to that past relationship. So you can't expect it to just go away, and then you can't expect them not to talk about it or something that surfaces, and you can't be acting all jealous. Well, geez, you're with me now, you shouldn't be talking. That is just so not, it is not a good thing or a good thought to have. So talking about it really does help to you with coping with that situation and understanding what your partner, your spouse is going through, because you've been there too. Yeah, and maybe you're still there. So what are some of the things that you worry about when you know that well, your loved one is about to pass on, or maybe they've passed on? You start to think about, well, what am I going to do? How am I going to cope? What will happen after the death? What's going to happen to loved ones, those left behind, the children, the grandchildren? How can I live without that person, especially my spouse, for many years? So I know that some of these thoughts that you're itching to share, and we'll give you an opportunity to share. But what I want to touch on now is some of the coping strategies or what we call rituals that we can put in place that help us to bond with the loved one while we're alive, when they're alive and before they pass on, or maybe that they're coming to an end, or maybe they've just uh, passed on. So rituals are strategies that help us keep the bond with our loved one alive, and it allow us to function in our lives, because as we noted thus far, that some of these, the grieving process can it can paralyze you. It can really paralyze you and make you unable to function or get through just simple the daily routine, and that's not a healthy thing, because you have to get on with your life. You have to get on with things that need to be done because you're still alive. So a ritual, for example, or a strategy might involve cleaning out your loved one's home or writing them a letter. I've known situations where loved ones have left the room where the loved one passed on was in. They've left that for months and for years, in some situations, and in some different cultures, that is something that becomes the norm. In some Eastern European countries, they wear, like the women, they wear black for a whole year, everything black, underwear, everything black. Or the men might wear a black armband to, as their grieving process. So there are different things that might look or sound extreme, but it's dictated by the culture. Or you can help to organize your daily tasks so that you can prioritize and make decisions that are based on your needs for self-care and healing. And we're going to touch on a lot of that later on in the presentation, things that we can do to help us take care of ourselves. Yes. You may set goals and set up routines that encourage you to thrive, even though you're dealing with the loss. And that is what's considered healthy, because you can't put it in a box and close it up and say, I'm not going to deal with this. I can't deal with this. I can't talk about it. I'm not, you can't. You have to live and you have to go through it. And there are things that are going to come right in your face that even when you're not thinking about it, it pops up like a mail or a picture, or a signature, the handwriting, a lot of little things. So how to deal with that, it's important. So you'll learn how to adjust the life without the deceased person while, still keeping your bond strong. So the most important thing to remember about mourning is that everyone has a different process. So your own experiences, your own culture, belief system, and values do shape how you deal and how you feel with death. And no one can or should tell you the right way to grieve, because grieving is an individual, personal thing. Not because Susie, I hope there's no one in here called Susie. This is a name. Susie's know that her husband passed away, and this is how she dealt with it, and she's coping. She tried to put her expectations on you, or Mr. Tom, he lost his wife, and this is how he dealt with it. So now he expects John to do the same thing. It is an individual thing, and we should never expect people to grieve the way that we have. It doesn't go away if you ignore it. And acknowledging and validating your own loss is the most important thing. So again, you can't ignore it. You can't put it in a box. You can't say, I can't talk about it. It's an important step to recovering after the death of a loved one or family member. So regardless of whether or not others recognize your grief, you must actively process your feelings in order to cope. This is when it's on you. Yes, there's support systems out there, plenty, and some of the things that we're going to talk about that help us. But at the end of the day, it is up to us as an individual. So first, remember that everything you feel is normal and acceptable. You know, don't think, well, I'm sure I'm the only one that's feeling this way, and this is probably not normal. I'm not going to talk about it. I can't tell anybody. I'll be embarrassed, you know. So there isn't a right or wrong way to mourn. You cannot expect to change. You cannot change the way that you feel. That is just you. Try not to feel guilty for any of the emotions that you experience while you grieve. And and allow yourself to mourn for however long you need to. Now, when I say that, there is, well, a caveat here. If that grieving, and these research has shown that some people can get stuck for years grieving, and what that does to their life is their life becomes unhealthy. They can't function. They can't take care of themselves. They can't do the things that are required to be done in life, like working, taking care of children, grandchildren, family members, taking care of themselves, paying their bills. That is when you see and you recognize this is unhealthy. So you see how it could be an individual thing, but going on for a long time where those things are happening, then it's time to pause and take stock. So you don't have to follow any timeline or framework. Just keep your eyes open on how you are functioning. Are you getting things done? Once you're ready to start engaging activities again, try to change your routine or do something new. Because if you keep doing the same thing over and over and over again, guess what? You're going to have those thoughts, reoccurring thoughts over and over and over again, and you're going to get what we call stuck. So you're not going to be able to develop healthy, a healthier lifestyle, or do those things that help you to get through the process. So when you go through the motions of normal routine, it's easy for your mind to wander and dwell on anxious or negative thoughts. So like if you're doing the same thing that you did when your loved one was alive, like you did things together, especially if it was a spouse, or a child or a grandchild, whatever, a friend. If you continue to do the things the same way for a long time, then you're opening yourselves for to become anxious or focus on thoughts that will cause you to become anxious. And that is something you have to watch for too. So if your loved one was part of certain aspects of your daily routine, your daily life, participating in these activities without them, we know it can be painful. But at the same time, you know, if it's something that has to be done, then you do it. But if you can change it up a little bit, like, you know, maybe go to a different grocery store, for example, maybe at a different time, or maybe walk, take a different path for your daily walk. Change things up a little bit, that will help you. And of course, you'll know when that time comes. No one expects you, you know, to like, I need to change this up right away, because that's what they said in the presentation, or that's what the doctors say, or that's what the counselors say, you know, I need to start doing that now. No, the decision for doing that, it's up to you, but you have to be informed. And this is what we're doing here. We're reminding ourselves of some of these things and being informed of things that we didn't know. When would be the appropriate time to start making that change? So maybe you can listen to a new song or read a new book. You know, if you used to be the caregiver to, for that loved one who passed away, you can find a new hobby or a volunteer opportunity that can direct your time and attention toward that person, and it changes your focus a little bit. All right. Coping with that involves finding the balance between acknowledging your feelings and continuing to live a meaningful life. That is what it's all about. Not wiping it off your slate, sticking it in a drawer somewhere, putting it under the rug, pretending it didn't happen. It's finding that balance so that you could continue to live a meaningful life. And we know this isn't easy. It's easier said than done, and it isn't the same for everyone. But continuing on after you lose a loved one is a daily challenge, and you should allow yourself to grieve, but give yourself time to live. I love to say that. It's so important. Allow your time, get yourself time to grieve, but give yourself time to live. And that's what creates a balance. So it's okay to talk about it in finding that balance. It's okay to talk about it. If you can, talk to someone who will know, who will listen to you without being judgmental. That is so important. Do not find yourself in the company of someone who's going to start telling you what you should be doing and insisting when you should be doing it and insisting that you should have done it already, or those kind of things. Someone who will listen without being judgmental. So, and as I pointed out earlier, we all come from different backgrounds, and the grieving process is different. We all have personal stories. And again, our culture can influence how we deal with the end of life and situation and grief. We know families and intimate network and defined in different ways in different societies, different cultures. And it's important to know that about 22% of older adults do not have spouses, or children are known and are known as elder orphans. So they never really had spouses, but they're known as orphans. So there are people out there who have bonded with someone that's other than a spouse, but it's a loved one. So they have to look for the grieving for them is similar, but it's just because they didn't have a spouse. Look to your friends to help fill the gap. Look to your faith community to help you, or civic organizations that you belong to. All those kind of entities where you feel like part of a family, where you know that you can speak to, they can listen without being judgmental and such. And it's okay to seek comfort. You don't have to be that, remember that statement in the beginning, have to be strong. Some people say, I have to be strong for the children. I have to be strong for the grandchildren. I mean, to an extent, that's important, but then you have to allow yourself to grieve. You can't just grieve in secret, So again, finding that balance is important. A close friend or family member who also knew that person would be a great support for you at this time. And you can also find a grief support group. There are many in the different areas to connect with the people who are mourning. You'll find that many share your sentiments, many share the feelings that you have when they've lost a loved one. And another option for support while you process death and grief is counseling. And so that is also an option because we know mourning is a complicated, challenging process, especially if you go through it alone. It could be so difficult. And we also know there are grieving situations that are called complicated grief, where it's the death of an ex, and now you're remarried, but that person was in your life for so many years, and because they're your ex, you're thinking, well, people don't expect me to grieve, but maybe, it gets complicated. So just be mindful how you're judging a person or how you feel about yourself. It's okay to grieve about that ex, and it's wonderful you've got a partner that understands that, because look at the family structures we have today. We have different relationships. There's death, there's divorce, there's separation, there's all those things, but those people have been in our lives. And when they pass on, we want to be able to mourn. And also know there's mourning for people who pass on with diseases such as, AIDS and HIV. People don't want to talk about it because they fear being judged. But nevertheless, it's a grieving process. It's mourning. So it can be challenging. It could be complicated. And again, especially if you're doing it alone. Okay, so there's some don'ts that we want to touch on real quick. Do not repeatedly tell people with dementia that their loved one has died, even if they ask, because this can be harmful for them. They have dementia, so they're constantly thinking about being in a situation that's when that person is alive, because they have dementia. Don't tell them, well, so and so is not here. Find a safe way to tell them. We're not saying to lie to them, but try to start to focus on the things. Pay attention to where they're coming from. Pay attention to the feelings that they're having when they're asking the question, where is so-and-so? And because they may be scared or anxious. I have a current mother-in-law. She's going to be 99 in September. And she occasionally, she doesn't really have what what the family likes to say. She didn't really dementia. It's something that kind of comes and goes. And she would ask for her mom. And she was the only child for her mom too. Her mom passed on when she was 103 years of age. But she would sometimes ask, her mom. So we have to be very mindful of not to lie, but how we answer her. And she would start to cry, and we shouldn't say not to cry, because they're right and that's how they're feeling. But you don't have to rush to make the pain go away. So these are training. Even if we don't have someone that passed on to us, we may encounter someone, and we need to be ready to know how to respond. So here's some reason why experience grief makes you a better person. Okay, your relationship becomes stronger. So what you experience grief, you think about life more, taking care of yourself. You value relationships more. You watch how you treat people. You get your finances in order. Because you observe and you've been there, and you don't want to have a repeat that. You get your finances in order. You take care of those bills and those things that need, because those are things that cause a lot of confusion in families. If a loved one suddenly goes on, you take care of your health better. You go to those checkups. You go to the dentist more often. You find yourself more often in the veggie aisle, and things like that. You become more spiritual because you're thinking more about the afterlife and where your loved one might be, and also you might find that little things don't bother you like they used to anymore. Or you make an effort to make more memories. You build relationships with those around you. You spend more time with the grandchildren. You remind yourself that I'm making memories, with the grandchildren when they come around you. For example, the little ones, Grandpa, let's do this. Nana, let's do that. Oh, I don't have time. I'm busy. You find yourself stretching yourself to spend that time, to make those memories, because that's an important moment to them and for you too, and you love more completely. Especially if you're in a new relationship, I tell you, it's a precious thing. You give more, you understand more, you're more compassionate. You don't rush through things. The things that used to irritate you and all that before doesn't. You choose your battles. The grieving can do these things to you. So let's look quickly at some self-care ideas, where what we can do for people who are grieving. Okay, and then you'll get to share some of what you do. And I may stop and interject. All right, take a walk. Hike in the woods if you can, or nature trail, around the neighborhood. We know the exercise will do you good, will do us good. You never know who you'll see or who you meet, you know. Take a nap, smile, read, and, you know, read something that's not only new to you, but maybe it might be spiritual, it might be a self-help book, something that sparks your interest, you know. Play, get on the ground and play with the grandchildren, or go outside and play jump rope with them, or hopscotch. You might not be able to do it, but you know, be around there to enjoy it. Get a few minutes of fresh air and sunlight, have a good cry, you know, engage in a game or activity that requires you to stay focused. You know, one person, this woman said, I just completed a 1,000-piece puzzle. So I must warn you, she says, while it was incredibly soothing, I also forgot to do my laundry. I forgot to feed my children, change out of my sweatpants until it was 4 days later. Now that's what you call engrossed. So for something a little less time consuming, though, you can try something like the daily crossword, or something called Sudoku, which is a numbers kind of word puzzle. Practice more patience, practice forgiveness, practice kindness, practice gratitude, plan a night out with friends, go to your favorite restaurant, see a show, attend a sporting event, establish a better work-life balance, and so on. But I'm going to pause here because I know it's getting, well, we still have a few more minutes to, I want to be able to spend more time with you talking. But so let's just continue to go through this. I can spend some more time going through this list, and something might just stick out to you that you ought to do, or maybe you've done and you enjoy it and you can share. Establish a better work-life relationship, or balance. Remember that keyword, balance, where it's okay to grieve, but it's also to make time for yourself. So that takes work. Nothing that's going to help you will come easy. You have to work at it. Yeah. Practice deep breathing when you have these thoughts. Listen to your favorite music playlist. Go somewhere and make you feel at ease. You know, spring clean. Give away some stuff. Take stock of your support system in life. You know, who can you count on, and how, you know, and things like that. Look through old photographs, and in that too, you know, some activities will conjure up more memories than others, will conjure up more emotion than others. And so you know, expect that, but at the same time, don't get stuck. Have a one-on-one with your children. And that means one child at a time. One child at a time. Don't assume for one moment that, you know, I can just talk to my children in the group, and get a take on how they're dealing individually. And, you know, if you haven't done so. Cuddling also reduces stress and makes you feel happy. Cuddling up, cuddle up with a blankie, and on a couch, and you know, with your favorite, you know, book, or iPad story, or whatever. See a movie. Do your, you know, your favorite relief, grief relief activity. Whatever you do that makes you feel really, really good, engage in that more often. Watch funny movies on YouTube. Yeah, seriously. And watch other videos on YouTube. Have some self-compassion. Take care of yourself. Plan a weekend getaway. Treat yourself to a day of relaxation. Don't feel guilty if you find yourself doing things that maybe you didn't even do with your partner, but you're doing it now because you find that it brings you joy. And try a new hobby like photography, journaling, scrapbooking, cooking, baking. Make your annual doctor's and dentist appointments, you know, and stick to them. Yeah, self-care. Cross something off your bucket list. You don't have a bucket list? Then make one. Get into an exercise routine. And you know, we don't need to stress the benefits of exercise, whether you're grieving or not. Cut back on your alcohol intake if you do. Be creative about things. Join a support group, among other benefits, you know, and that will help you gain a self of empowerment and feel less lonely. You're more in control than the grief is controlling you, you know. Or as was mentioned earlier, seek an online support, and there are plenty out there. Make a plan to start eating healthier. But you can also go eat a piece of chocolate, pour yourself a cup of coffee, and don't feel guilty about that. Don't let things hang over your head that you have to do. Either do them or choose not to let not getting them done stress you out, because that builds up and causes more stress, and you know that will happen. So be proactive, be proactive about doing the things, so that you don't have to worry about doing them. And we know if we are a procrastinator, that could become even more magnified during a grieving or a mourning process. And so we don't want that to control, have that power over us. Sing at the top of your lungs, okay, by yourself. Maybe other people are in the house, in the bathroom, like everyone does when you're having a shower or whatever. Dance, open your windows, allow yourself a day of unapologetic sulking. Go shopping, stretch, take comfort, or comfort someone in their time of need. It's amazing that, but true, that when we seek to comfort someone else or have compassion, focus on someone else and their needs and their situation, we actually feel better. And it's not just a thought, it has a chemical reaction in our body. We have all these endorphins and things that are released into our bloodstream that actually make us feel better when we do something good for others. And that's overall healthy. Spend time in a place where you feel close to your deceased or loved one. Again, caution for how long, but you will know when it becomes healthy or unhealthy. Play a sport, play by yourself, join adult league, take a yoga class, find ways to make your work day healthier, phone an old friend, throw your plans out the window one day and spend a few days doing nothing. Go for a drive. Yes. So we know death ends a life, but not a relationship. Death ends a life, but not a relationship. And we've been talking about that relationship for the past hour. So let's chat now. And I want to thank you for, and I know I did say I would interject and let you have a say, that I possibly would do that. And I know I didn't, but now is your chance. Now is your opportunity. So now I'm going to yield to the host, Ms. Teresa, so she can open it for questions. Thank you so much for listening to my voice all this time.
You're welcome.
Back to you, Ms. Teresa. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah, who, me?
I'm Ms. Teresa. I'm yielding to the host to see if
she's muted.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah, because I didn't see it no more.
She went to get a tomato out the garden.
Oh.
Yeah. Anyway, so I'm gonna go to the chat. Let's see if there are questions. Okay. So maybe someone could until the host comes, we'll just get started.
I'm here. Okay. I just was muted. I realized that. So we have Louise Allimore. Her hand is up. Go ahead, Louise, and unmute.
Yes, I just want to. Mom had passed. We had her funeral in December, And
Mhm.
one day in about June, my daughter, who is 42 years old, she lives there. She has a history of depression, but at the same time, she told me to take everything down from my mom's room and get rid of them.
Mhm.
And so I said, I can't do it yet. My mom lived with me since 1977,
Mhm.
and it's 9 daughters and 3 sons. She have 12 of us.
Mhm.
I'm number 5. But
Mhm.
yesterday morning, I woke up. I usually go to my mom room and open the door, open the blinds, and
Mhm.
we change sheets and stuff. We don't have our same stuff. We give away clothes. I
Mhm.
went in there and there was no pictures of us. Everything was stripped from the dresser. All her
Mhm.
jewelry was missing.
Mhm.
Everything was missing. And I asked my daughter, and she has a bag by my mom's door with all her leftover perfume. Even some weren't used yet. She
Mhm.
had a bag ready to throw them. I went to the garage and there were all my mother jewelry and the jewelry box. I have a about maybe 24-inch thing, like a little wooden looking thing with glass
Mhm.
on it. All the jewelry were out sitting in the garage on the floor.
Mhm.
I was so disturbed about it. At the same time, I know she has a history of depression, but why rip my stuff? I'm not ready for this. And
Mhm.
so here I am saying now I need to have my daughter, and she's the only daughter I have and 2 sons. They're married.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
at the same time, it's my mother. And I'm
Yes.
not ready to get rid of all my sisters and brothers' pictures are all taken away.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I've been going through. So I called the people from the crisis and
Mhm.
asked them to come and evaluate. So they took her to the hospital
Okay.
because that's not really helping me.
Right.
I have issue dealing with her trials. And
Mhm.
now she's 42, but she's my only daughter. And she live
Mhm.
here. Now I have to deal with her ripping my mother's stuff away and deal with me dealing about her. I have,
Yes.
I have, I'm going torn between her and my mom.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah. So first of all, I just I feel it's a very touching situation. And I can understand somewhat. I didn't have a similar situation, but I can kind of relate to the experience, the feelings. But
Yeah,
one good thing that you did was to call the crisis, and they I'm sure what they
they
um
took her with. I explained everything,
yeah.
and I didn't talk about my mom's death. I just said everything from that she's gone and everything that was something nice to us. All my
Mhm.
brothers and sisters come here all the time
Yeah.
because my mom was here, and now everything is ripped. I mean, the thing is as clean. The dresser's clean. The top of her bed had lots of pictures. They're all gone. She
Mhm.
put them down in the, I don't know what she threw in the trash because there were a lot of bags in the trash,
Mhm.
but I just couldn't go in the trash because I have a problem with my back. And so
Yeah.
I say, whatever is gone, but I'm putting back my stuff, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Yes. So that's what I was about to ask you. Tell me your name again.
Louise Allimore, yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Um, Mrs. Louise. One good thing is that you still have some of these things in your possession that
Yes,
you can put back in the room. And then, the daughter live with you? She lives with you?
yes, she lives with
Oh,
me because she had that depression problem.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
every time she stopped taking the
So,
medicine because she said it make her gain weight, then she
yeah.
flipped.
Yeah.
And so I
Yeah.
have to deal with that.
Right.
Plus, now I'm trying to adjust to my mom gone.
Mm.
I
Yeah.
know she was 102, but she was
Mhm.
my mother.
It was your mom. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And
And
so they.
we were like partners. We live it's my house. I bought the house
Mhm.
with a room just for her. And
Yeah.
she has done a lot for me when I had my children, my
Right.
2 boys. And I have to be grateful. And I'm still grateful. But
Yeah.
now yesterday just had me thinking.
Yeah. But you know what? The one good thing again is that you have some of these possessions that you can put back, and then
Yes,
you haven't become a person that has no power or no authority because
right.
you are her mom. I know you're trying to understand her situation, but
Yes,
take take hold, and I'm sure you're doing that,
Yeah,
and put back some of those things there and maybe make a point of that you will remove them when you're ready
yeah.
to do so, you know, and then keep a firm eye on that, that nothing
I
is
told
moved, and see
her,
how that goes.
I
Yeah,
told her, don't you dare go back to this room and
that's
touch anything. And she said, don't you talk to me. I said, well, I am. Don't you dare. So the perfume never going in the trash bag. They were still sitting. I just had to,
but I'm sure that made you feel better that you made that
yes, because I
statement.
had a chance.
That's good. That's good. All right. Thank you
Yeah.
for sharing, Miss Louise. I appreciate you.
Thank you. I
you.
really think this is a
Thank you.
perfect day for this.
Praise God. Praise God.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Yes. If we can have another person so we can.
Tawana, Tawana, you're next. Go ahead, Tawana, unmute. Unmute, Tawana. Are you there?
Yes,
she's
I'm
talking.
here.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, my grandmother raised us,
Mhm,
and I took care of her.
mhm,
I had to quit my job to take care of her because she was taking too much. She was filling her insulin up, her needle up with insulin.
mhm,
That's who I was very, very close to. So I had to quit my job to be there with her 24/7.
mhm.
So after I took care of her, she learned some things. I even taught her how to get on a computer at the age of 94.
Whoa.
Because she likes to,
Mhm,
yeah, she likes the newspaper to find this and find that and find this.
mhm,
So the people that was coming in to help taking care of her, she didn't like that. I don't need them to come in here to tell me to raise my hand. They took her from me.
Oh no.
When they took her from me, my
Oh.
heart crumbled like you balled up aluminum foil.
Mm.
Okay. She raised me since I was 6 years old. My mama died in 67.
Mm.
When they took her, they put her in a nursing home. I was there 24/7.
Mm.
Then when she said, don't leave me here.
Mm.
They was doing things to her. So I stayed there. When she got in the hospital, they said with nothing else, they said her leg was broke. I said, well, how can her leg get broke?
Mm.
Because she used to always say, see that black lady? Don't leave her in here. So I had to find out who she was. So we got her fired because my grandmother said when she changed my diaper, she's snatching.
Mm.
So she passed away from that. So when I got to the hospital to stay with her, but they called me and said they wanted to put the thing on her chest. They said she was too fragile.
Okay.
So they had to let her go.
Mm.
Right today, this happened in 2010. Okay.
Mm.
Right today, I am 64 years old and I am still grieving over my grandmother.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
At 60 something years old, 50 something years old, it taught me that I know people passed away, but this might sound strange to y'all, just the way she was talking, you don't know what you're thinking.
Mm.
I always thought that grandmas would never leave.
Mm.
And that's why it hurt so bad too. What I have in my house, I can show y'all. See this tree? No, y'all can't see this tree on my wall because my cat there. That tree is a family tree that will always be on my wall. My sister say, get rid of it. If you come in my house and touch anything belong to my grandmother, it's going to be a problem. I would like to say that I want to talk about her because I have to explain it to somebody. Because right today, I still grieve my grandmother. She left here at 95 years old. And to me, she should have been still here. They told me I was too small to take care of a large woman like that. But I did it. God gave me the strength to do what I had to do, to take care of my grandmother when she took care of me. And that hurts. I'm 64 and I still grieve my grandmother. I was the baby out of 7 kids. I still grieve her right now. And that's why I'm glad I looked at this class, because I do a whole lot of other things to try to avoid that, to try to feel that in my heart. You know, I lost a big brother. He was like a father to us. He preached my grandmother's funeral.
Okay.
He preached her funeral. He was like a
Mhm.
father. He was more than just a brother. He was a
Mhm.
father. He was a
Yeah.
Jehovah Witness. He was a witness.
Mhm. Mhm.
He looked out for us.
Yeah.
Those was closest to those two, and one girlfriend was close to my heart.
Mhm.
And the only thing I
Yeah.
have left is one daughter and one son, and 10 grandkids.
Mhm.
That's
Well,
in my
praise
life.
God. Yeah,
And
praise
you gonna
God.
be
You
all
got
right.
you have all those support systems, I'd like to call it, and I hope from this class you can take it as self-assessment and look at your life. How are you dealing with that? Is it in a healthy way? Is it balanced? You know, and what can you do more to make it balanced? So I hope that you can take some of the information away from this presentation to do a self assessment of how you're coping with that, because others will be, you know, observing. They want to learn. If you espouse the good way, the healthy way, then perhaps others will, you know, learn from you too. Thank you so much for sharing that. I don't know
Our
if we have
next,
time for
our,
another.
our next hand is Diane Leach. Go ahead, Diane. Unmute, Diane.
I'm unmuted.
Hi, Diane.
How you doing?
I miss Diane. Good.
My question is, I'm emotional right now.
Yes, ma'am.
I lost my son,
Yes, ma'am.
and his birthday is coming up.
Mm.
Why? It's like I lost him yesterday,
Mm.
but I lost him in 1987.
Mm.
This is what I can't control.
Mm.
That's all I want to say.
Okay, okay. I wish I could be there to give you a hug, Miss Diane. I really, there's not many words one could say to comfort you at this time. I wish I can give there. Please, I'm extending my visual arms around you. It's the best I can do right now. And it's just, the situation just touched my heart. Yes, 1987, that's a long time. That's what, 35 years ago or something like that. Yeah. So, you know, it depends so much on your relationship with him, how much you've gone through together, the bonding situation, the reason for his death, you know, for the loss. All those things impact how you're dealing with it. But I'm praying and hoping and believing that this presentation will help you to take your grieving to another level where you become more empowered and be more in control of the grieving process, where you're going to take some of these examples, some of these things that we talked about today in the list of things to do, and start practicing them, so that it's not going to replace the love that you have for your son, but it's going to help you to grieve. Because you know, if your son were here, and I'm saying this from a spiritual perspective, okay, if he were here today, I know that he wouldn't want his mom to be experiencing this pain. You know, he wouldn't want his going on to be a setback for you. He wants you to live in a healthy way. It's not that you're giving up on him, you're passing on the memories of him. You have to get into a place where, what would my son want me to do? How would he want me to cope with this? What is the healthy way? Find things to do. Maybe you can volunteer, people who, whatever, I don't know the cause of the death, and then, you know, you don't have to share that. Whatever it is, volunteer with people from in that in that situation. Do things that will help you to have the happy memories, things that will make you laugh. That's why I pointed out earlier that when you're creating those memories, doing things that will cause happy moments. So you can, and I do pray and hope that you do find yourself, despite the grieving and the tears, I hope that you do find yourself laughing at some of the things that maybe he did or said, or, you know, something that was humorous. Be strong, Miss Diane. It's very important that maybe you seek some counseling if you haven't already. It's important that to get moved to the next level, not to forget him, but to create a balance. Remember, it's important to have that balance. You're not,
Yes,
don't feel guilty about it.
I
Don't feel guilty.
have had counseling
Okay.
over the years.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm disabled now.
Yes, ma'am.
What bothered me is I don't grieve him all the time or every year,
Okay.
but all of a sudden
It's the birthday.
it happened to this is the month.
Okay.
And then I would go for years and his birthday can pass by, his death, and it doesn't bother me.
Oh, okay.
But when it do, it's so devastating to me.
Okay.
And that's what I'm trying to figure out. Why is it so devastating?
Okay. One possible reason, Ms. Diane, is because it's the way that you have grieved. You know, you didn't have a complete relieving, you know, a grieving, you know what I'm saying, where you got on with things too quickly. You got busy. Whoever was in your circle probably told you had to move on, or maybe life forced you to just get on with things. So
it took me 14 years. It took me 14 years to become normal. I used to sing one day at a time, Sweet Jesus. And one day I finally went to work and I was grinning again. I was happy. I was praying.
Yeah.
All of these things in.
Yeah.
It's just, I know the Lord is on my side.
Yes.
But what upset me is that it's so overpowering, like it happened today, it happened. That's what I want to get past.
Right.
I'm so like tomorrow, I'll be all right.
Okay.
It's like God says, it's all right to cry today.
Yeah, yeah. And that's what I'm going to get.
I don't want to stay into it.
Yes. And you know what's encouraging to hear you say, it's this time, around this time. So you know there've been better moments, and it's something that triggers it. And so you know that you've had times when you felt better and stronger, but there are things that conjure up those memories that kick them into gear and just cause all of the things. Allow yourself to do that. Don't try to understand that. Don't try to understand, because you're not stuck in a way that, you know, the examples I gave earlier, people never get out of it. Allow yourself to cry, to experience it, because you know that you're not stuck, and be okay with that. You know, shut yourself away and do whatever you have to do, but not for a long time. You know what, we know when it becomes unhealthy.
Right.
Don't feel bad about that. Don't feel bad about it. It's a flushing out, so to speak, of the grief that you have piled up in there, you know, and you'll be all right. It's don't feel bad. Just don't feel bad about it. Just let it happen. Just let it happen.
I
Don't
just don't
question
want to
yourself.
bring my misery to everybody else in the family.
Oh no, this is a session where there are many on this line that may not have an opportunity to share, that have maybe same or similar. I mean, everybody's different, you know,
Right,
experience
right.
with grieving process. So just allow it to happen. Just let it happen. Just let it
Okay,
happen. And don't be
thank
around
you.
anybody who's gonna judge you.
Right.
It's
I'm
okay.
gonna say
It's okay.
this, and
Tell yourself, it's okay, Diane. Tell yourself,
okay, I'm
Diane.
gonna say this last thing, and then I'm gonna let you go. Thank
Yes,
you.
ma'am.
A lady asked me one day, when are you gonna get over this? I said, well, you give me a time and a date, and I'm gonna work on it. And that's how I feel. And then she
Yeah.
lost her mother, and she was in the same situation. I asked, well, when are you gonna get over this? And she knew
What
how
you were,
I felt.
right. Yeah.
You know, you
Yeah.
can't tell a heart how to grieve.
Oh, so true. Yeah. And you understand that. And so that's why you were
Yes.
able to do that. And so, yeah, again, God, let it all out, Miss Diane, because you know that's what you're gonna feel better after. You are going to feel better after. And it's
I
okay.
know.
Tell yourself it's okay. All right. God bless you. Be strong, be strengthened. Just when I say strong, I don't mean don't grieve. I don't mean
I
that
know.
you
I
should
know.
and you know the
Bless
Lord's on your
everybody.
side.
I'm all right. I'm all right.
Amen. Amen to that.
It's just
God bless
God
you.
telling me it's all right to cry.
It's all right. That's it. It's all right. Jesus wept. He wept.
Yes. Thank you so
All right.
much.
God bless you. Yes.
Okay,
You too.
so we're actually
Over
out
time.
of time, but we
I
do
know.
have 4 hands there. We'll try to accommodate them. The first one is Michelangelo. Go ahead and unmute Michael and ask your question or give your comments.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, God bless you, miss. Keep the
Bless
faith.
you.
You're gonna be all right. You know, just hang in there.
Yes,
Because
she's
God
gonna
is on our side. Keep the
Amen.
faith.
All
And the
right.
2 questions I had 2 questions. You mentioned something about dementia, right? And I had a relative that had that. And you said when they asked about somebody that has passed on, which I've experienced that,
Mhm.
and I may have made the wrong choice, as you said. You don't tell them that they, well, anyway. How would you, explain to them that, they're gone on? Because they asked about their mother, and I said, well, Mama's in heaven. She's in heaven. She's not with us anymore. That's like you said. Don't tell them that, something like that. So how would you explain that? And the second, you want to answer this one, or and then
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I like that's the main one right there. Then I'll ask the second one later.
Yeah. Okay. So if we're saying don't ever tell the truth, but what's important in that kind of relationship is when they're repeating because of the dementia, they're repeatedly saying that. And that's going to add to them being in a stuck place. You do tell the truth, but tomorrow and the next day, you don't keep saying that. You just vary your responses. Like, why are they asking about that? If they're feeling sad, you say, well, Mama, she's resting, and she want you to be happy, and take care of yourself, and things like that, and not the same repeated answer where when you say that thing, it's causing a lot of emotions. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah.
So
you
just say they're
mix it up.
They're resting, or
And they want you to be happy, and they're just to take care, be taking care of yourself, and just not too much, because they're not going to be able to digest everything that you say. At the same time. But when you say that too, you have to look at how they respond to it. remember the general thing is to keep them in a place of comfort. You don't want them to be, you know, be all emotional and, you know, so that's, you have to pay attention to what's happening at the time when they're asking that and what's happening when you respond.
Okay.
So we have that responsibility. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that. I need
You're
that.
welcome.
And the second one, you had mentioned about some people, well, different things you can do to activities you can participate in because the person has gone on.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been in a grief share seminar before, and you know, some people are just mad because the person has passed on and they're just bitter, you know, and I know that it's the Lord's will that they go on, but you know, how do you explain to some people that, you know, just have a bitter attitude because somebody has died? No, a relative of theirs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, we all, if that person has any connection, you know, spiritually, they would understand that we don't really know, you know, why God's decision to take that person's life at the same at that time when they did. But what you can do is to not don't condemn them because they're being angry, but instead turn the table around and speak positive things and encourage them with some suggestions and things to do to help them remember that person in a happy way, a healthy way. Or even if you knew that person that they're talking to and you knew this person, you know, was humorous or some funny things or whatever, start sharing those things. So that will take the precedent of the negativity in their mind. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I hope that helps. Thank you.
Yes,
sir.
it does. I know you had said something about looking at good, you know, photographs of old good times and whatnot and so forth. You know, happy things. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. God bless you.
God bless.
Good advice.
All right, so we have Sandra Edwards. Go ahead, Sandra.
Yeah. I recently, 2 years now, my husband passed.
Yes, ma'am.
And it put me in the hospital
Mm.
because they couldn't wake me up.
Mm. Mm.
I'm trying to get over it,
Mm-hmm.
but it's hard. We went through elementary, junior high, and high school together.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, that was the love of my life.
Yes, ma'am.
We were married for 45 years.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
My thing is, I know I'm gonna get over it. I know we all gotta go that route someday. But I have a son that can't get over it and has turned the wrong way. He's grown. He's turned to drugs. I begged him to get some help. I'm not ready to bury another person.
That complicates it. Yes. Yeah.
How do you get help for them and they're grown?
Okay, so thank you, Ms. Sandra, for your question. And again, my heart touches your situation in a way more than you know. But and it's being married for 45 years. Again, it's like our example. The person has become an appendage to you. They're a part of you, and now they're not there anymore. So it is a difficult situation. It's a difficult loss. But again, Ms. Sandra, moving on and being healthy is the most important thing. So we have to look for find that balance. So and I don't know if you've had, well, it's 2 years. So I don't know if in between you've been to grief counseling or anything like that, but some of the suggestions that we've had is where you create that you don't want to, you don't feel bad when you find yourself wanting to do other things. You have to, it's not an easy task, and it's not to navigate around this situation. Don't find you, if you find yourself going through the same ritual and the same routine that you did with your husband, that's going to keep those the pain around longer. So you have to venture out and incorporate some different things. But most of all, I know if you've been with that person since elementary and all, you have to have joyful, happy moments. And I want you to perhaps think more on those things, jot them down as you recall them, and bring out those memories to the top, because that's the more important thing in this process, to help you dig up all of those old memories. And even with your son, because see what's happening, you're grieving, he's grieving too. And you both can't really in that way, you can't really help each other out of it. So start to make yourself bring up all the positive things, the memories, little by little, bit by bit. Jot things down. Take even the happy photographs that you took when there was something wonderful and nice going on. Recall those times and talk about it, and that will take you on that path. You know, there's no set time of when, but it's a path that you're beginning, and it's going to take you to a place where you can find yourself smiling and having good memories. Again, for us who are alive, it's so important to create good memories. Thank you so much for sharing. Yeah. God bless you.
You know, I just want to get my son some help.
Yes. So
because I don't want to bury another person.
No, you don't. So, and have you seek out the counseling for him for the substance, right? The substance abuse going on. So there's special help for people in that area, and you know, with those kind of habits, and it may be contributed to the grief. If I don't know if it
well,
started.
He was with him when he died.
Okay, and I don't know if that's when he started doing this, so we could say that's the main reason, or maybe, you know, it's a thing that brought it more to the outside, that a practice or a habit that was brought more to the forefront because of the grieving. But at the end of the day, the counseling for substance abuse would be able to help, so he can then start a proper grieving process. Remember, grieving is healthy, everyone. It's not that it's not. So he needs to have the counseling so he can deal with, you know, this pain and the thoughts that he's having, so he can start to heal healthy. So I would suggest that you try to get the help for a substance abuse counseling for him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I know we said we would take 3 more. I have Yvonne.
Yes, very quickly.
Okay.
I'll make mine very quick. I have a girlfriend whose daughter took her own life. I'm just looking for words of comfort to someone who's lost a family member who took his or her own life. What kind of words can I just say to her that are not hollow?
Yes. So you have to, first of all, acknowledge that this thing happened, and I don't want to sound hollow either. You express the concern and reflect on how she's feeling at the time, and just be genuine in your communication. Don't hide your feeling or put it out there that she should be feeling better. You know, there's not a whole lot you can say. Offer your support, and that's so that she can build herself up to come to the grieving. You know, it's a complicated process. So it's a stage or step-by-step process. You being a strong support for her, you can't solve the problem, but you can be there as a non-judgmental person, you know, always acknowledging what she's feeling, and also expressing, you know, there's hope. And then once she gets to that point, that she can actually start to deal with the grieving.
Well, she's dealing with it, I think, in a very positive way. She's even
Good.
started a foundation because her
Wonderful.
daughter was into the arts. So
Wonderful.
she's, I think,
That's
from
good.
my perspective, handling it very well.
Yes.
But I've just not been able to decide what I could say verbally, and maybe I don't need to say anything.
And that's it. You can't ask somebody who just lost a loved one, so how are you feeling? How you what can they say to you? You know what they're probably feeling, but you
Exactly.
just say things like, how can I help? I'm here for you. You know, just you can't say to them, let me know if you don't. Just say, what can I do? Let me help, and name those things perhaps that you can do, instead of being making it, like you say, hollow, where, you know, just, I'm here if you need to talk to. And sometimes that might be hollow, instead of initiating a conversation, like, you know, what's going on and stuff like that. Then you're there, but you know, I feel that you've offered more support than you know that you have. And I want you to
Dr.
go away with that
Lofton.
thought. I really believe that. God bless you.
Thank you. It's
Continue to do
been
what
very
you're doing.
helpful.
Stand in her corner. You're a pillar. God bless
Thank you.
All right, and we had a couple more. Charles, is yours going to be quick? Michael, Charles, is yours going to be quick?
Very quick.
Go ahead.
Greetings, everyone, and
Greetings.
this is a serious matter. We're talking about death because it happens to all of us. We all inherit it through our ancestors, but there's a thing that we also can do, something that would take us forever, is to find out more about God. So by reading His Word, the Bible, will give us all the answers. Because in 2 Timothy 3:16, he talked about all scriptures are inspired, beneficial for teaching, for reproving, for setting things straight. And so we can challenge him and see if it's true. So we can challenge God. He tells us to throw your burdens on him.
Yes, sir.
You know, throw all your burdens on him. So we can find out about that. We can find out about a lot of things, because God is the creator of us, and He knows us, and He knows. So, you know, He also said, quick to quick to listen and slow to speak. Sometimes when we're dealing with some of our loved ones that gone through some heavier stuff, you know, we can just be there and listen to them.
That's right.
We don't have to say nothing.
That's right.
And we can cry when they cry, you know, because we still sincerely are crying too. We are just as sad. So, you know, there's a lot of things that we can do, and God provides us the answer for the proper way of dealing with this certain situation. And He has some comfort, because if it's going to take us forever to thank Him, and He offer us paradise kingdom and everlasting life, see, he have everything under control and in store. So
absolutely.
So that's all I have to say. And thank y'all for being here, all of y'all.
Thank you so much, Mr. Charles, for your input. That is so true. It's the foundation of everything that we're talking about today. Yes, you're absolutely right. And that we must not leave him out of the picture. He is the foundation. Thank you.
I know Brenda McManus wanted to say something, and she's no longer, her hands is no longer raised. So we'll go ahead, and I'd like everyone who's still here to thank Dr. Lofton for her.
Thank you, Dr. Lofton.
Thank you.
Have a lovely day.
My pleasure.
Dr. Lofton. Thank you.
My pleasure. God bless you.
Thank you so much.